All right, welcome back to episode 3. Glad to have you back. I'm glad to see you. And today we're going to be talking and focusing on the subject of founders. I mentioned this as one of my 3 critical elements in episode 1, and I can't stress to you how much, how directly correlated the quality of founders that you bring in and put around you is to whether or not your startup will be successful. And I'll start off with an example. I personally, myself, freshman and sophomore year of college, so the last 2 years, had an app. And I would say the number one reason why it didn't end up becoming a success was because of the relationships I had with my other co-founders. The product itself, I thought, and I still think, had great potential and really could have gone on to end up being great. But you can have the best product in the world, but if you don't have the right people around you, it doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. Those two things need to go together. It needs to be one part of one well-oiled machine, right? Without the good product, you can't be successful. You can have the great product, but not without the best founders, and you won't be successful either. You need both. So what are you looking for when you're looking for founders? For one, the most successful companies tend to have somewhere between 2 to 4 co-founders. That's not to say you can't be successful being a sole founder, doing it on your own. But most commonly, it's too much to take on both emotionally and physically. It's just a lot to put on yourself. And then secondly, where are you going to turn to get different perspective, right? If you just have yourself, there's no one on a daily basis that's right with you, telling you, great idea, or you know what, let's make this change, or let's make that change. And that way, it's great to have those 2 to 4 others around you. Next, a common trap that startups fall into is that they want to surround themselves either with, right, you'll see, me and my best friend went into business together. So they either reach out for a best friend to be a co-founder, or if not a best friend, similar like-minded people, right? Because it's easy, you feel comfortable. But in the long run, and in terms of what's best for the product and for the business, what you want isn't like-minded people. You actually want people that are quite different from you, right? Because what you want is you want different perspectives. You want different strengths. You want different weaknesses. That's where the gold is. That's what you're really getting. That's the use that you get out of other founders, is the differing of ideas. And so you want people that are significantly in some way different than you, right? You don't want people that all think the same. You want diversity. You want diversity on within your co-founders, whether that be racially, whether it simply be that diversity in terms of train of thought, whatever it may be. You want conflicting ways of viewing the world, different ways of thinking, different perspectives. Another really, really important thing is the idea of you want co-founders that will, no matter what the situation, will always remember that mission comes over the margin. So what that means is you want a co-founder that no matter what comes up, whether it's you just got a huge deal when you're about to make $5 million, or you're about to literally have to shut down the business, whatever is happening, you want a co-founder that's always going to remember what led you to start the company, or what led you to come to that idea in the first place. If a co-founder is easily swayed and taken away from what brought them there in the first place, they're not the right person, right? And going off of that, you want co-founders that are persistent. If they're easily, like I said, as I discussed earlier, rejection, failure is a staple of entrepreneurship. If your co-founders aren't ready to go through tough times with you, then they're not the right person to have on your team. You need others who have the ability, just as you should yourself, to endure the bad times and humbly accept the good times as well. You need both, right? You need that ability. And lastly, I would say you really need the ability for stellar communication amongst the co-founders. Honest communication, brutal communication. You need the ability for a co-founder to come to you and say, you know what? You're not doing this right. You need to do A, B, and C. Or sometimes it's the opposite. You need someone who can, take one from the team and say, you know what? You're right. I was wrong. It's the combination of the diversity, the differing of thought, the trains of thought. They need to have different strengths. They need to have different weaknesses, right? It's it's a puzzle, and you need to fit the right pieces together. If you all have the same weakness, it's not going to get you anywhere, right? You want different weaknesses, and you also want different strengths, and that way, when you come together as a whole, you're better than you are as individual parts. And lastly, what we've seen is that founding boards that have that have women as a part of their founding board are more successful. You want to have diversity both also in sex. You want men and you want women. So I'll conclude with the idea that when you're choosing who you want to bring on, understand the significance of the decision you're making, and understand that as easy as it is to fall into the trap of, you know what, I really like you, we're good friends, or you know what, we think the same way, let's do this together. Take a second, take a step back, and think about, not today, not next week, but in a few months or in a year, when times get tough, are they going to be there? Are they going to stick it out? And not only that, are they going to provide the honest feedback and different train of thought that is needed to really be a successful team? Because if they can't do that, then they're not worth being a part of your founding board and being part of the journey, as we've discussed, has so many ups and has so many downs. So thank you. That's the conclusion of our episode. I look forward to seeing you soon with episode 4. Thank you.